The failure of an oath. Greetings. Please take note that this subject matter is out of sort for me because I typically only focus on the mechanics of running for office. So bear with me, please. I have a truly unbelievable faith that all of those running for office and in office are those who choose to do what is best for all, for this country. It is important to know that many candidates do not have much of a requirement or a prerequisite to run for office. In other words, no strong compliance guidelines, let alone violation structures. Therefore, from the time of winning an election to the time they are voted out, there is very little in the area of monitoring their actions. After 40 years in the political field, I tend to field a lot of political questions. I can answer some. I'm clueless on other questions. And of course, there are those that I will not answer, period. It's not deniable or debatable that all of the current violations to the Constitution and the oath of office are out of control. A president who has been criminally convicted of being a sexual predator, convicted of 34 felonies, 6 bankruptcies with the U.S. destined to be the 7th, is a draft dodger, is a tax dodger, and has so many hate phobias and comments that are uncountable. It's hard to stay neutral. Not to mention the violations of civil rights, human rights, and the flagrant unauthorized use of authority, stalling or delaying court compliances. Something must be done. The potential destruction of our Constitution, our country, our democracy, our laws, our way of life is in peril. Please keep in mind that the United States is relatively new. Therefore, knowing where we started and where we are is paramount to a good and effective strategy. Over the past 2 millennia, and within the past 250 years, our Constitution, our Bill of Rights, and our governmental structure began as something new that the world had never seen before. Oh yeah, I know you're thinking, what of Rome and Greece? Well, at best, I would describe them as a republic, but not a full democracy. In fact, our country was not designed to be a 100% democracy. So now that, yes, we are the first to create such a government, and like all new things, it takes time to grow and evolve. An example would be of this in the 27 amendments to our Constitution between 1791 and 1992. Yep, we are overdue for some upgrades. To summarize, a document was established to create a government, the likes of which no one had ever seen before, the Constitution. A document built on the premise that all men, I'll strike that, all people are created equal. A system of the people, by the people, and for the people. A system of checks and balances, and a country of laws. I believe we need to first look at our current established checks and balances, our laws. Are they working? Where are the holes in our system? Where are the next level of protection? Well, let's begin with our oath, which is given to all elected officials, directors, cabinet members, and government employees. Are there violations by one or any of these given an oath? Yes, there are. If we support our Constitution, then we are on Team USA, and we can move forward with the consequences to any violations. Remember, by doing this, we must find a consensus. This is what I would refer to as common ground. The line in the sand, if you will. Prepare for and fully understand that there will be those that are not willing to support the Constitution or their oath to the Constitution. These are those who we must clearly define as the enemy to our democracy. Now, the objective can begin. We must focus on the fact that this has never been about one person. It's about our democracy, our structure of checks and balances, our laws. The greatness of our democracy, our society, and understanding of the change that is needed to improve ourselves. This is at the heart of our objective battle. While damage has already been done, I see damages as a form of a lesson to make us stronger than before, a map of what we need to do and fix and improve our country. Although impactful, yet non-effective, we are seeing attempts and to address some of these problems, some from the courts and some from the legislative and state branches. But much more needs to be done. We must stay focused on the long game, or the war, not the battle. We must join forces with the legislative and judicial branches of our democracy. I tend to look at all confrontation from the perspective of Sun Tzu's Art of War. Strategically, from the legislative perspective, we can use any vote or votes to identify those who support the Constitution and those who oppose it. This becomes similar to a pitched battle with our clear definition, message, and theme. I believe our focus should be on those oath violators, whomever they are. There should be a simultaneous effort between federal and states. Now, knowing your enemy, the terrain, your resources, the allies, and the heavens and the earth is imperative. The above points I have listed would be the earth. The heavens would be the unseen infestation, like Project 25, the oligarch, ADF, white nationals, Christian nationals, Proud Boys, Fox News, OAN, Steve Miller, MAGA, and the president's cabinet and groups or tactics being used by those wanting to pull government protections. This becomes similar to a battle of attrition in that mostly money and influence are their strengths. Regardless, our battles need to be for our democracy, our nation of laws. Our enemies are not political parties. They are those who violate their oath for our country and to us, the people. I would love to believe that our structured checks and balances is enough, but I fear it is not. I believe that while these efforts are good, they are shallow. The end game needs to be focused on our future strength and longevity of our democracy. If we look at the laws the federal government has on the violations of the oath of the Constitution of the United States, our goal should be to ask, what do the laws of violations of the oath of office consist of? Well, they can vary from fines to imprisonment to removal of office and a disallowance of future office holding. These are significant, albeit a bit ambiguous. If we approach the agents within the president's cabinets, all these people employed must pledge an oath of office to the Constitution. Therefore, an order given to a director, then to a manager, then to an agent, does not take away the agent's choice. Therefore, if they choose to violate the Constitution, they are in truth violating the rights of the people. Additionally, we must adjust the laws to be less ambiguous and clearer. We can then impeach them, remove them, jail them, and stop them from ever being a part of this government again. Now, what is the reality? Well, the president can have the U.S. Marshals, the FBI, and other departments of his cabinet protect them, or he can pardon them all. Now, I know there's potential legislations to remove the U.S. Marshal from the president's control. I hope this works. What are the options from this point? Well, a secondary approach. It is important to know that each state should have a mirroring law against oath violators. Now, if a state files charges against an actor violating their oath in the state's jurisdiction, then we can charge and legally arrest them. These charges are now state level and the president cannot pardon. We do not need all 50 states because a movement like this will be enough for all to eventually focus on the common ground. Another caveat for the legal defense is to civilly sue those bad actors. There is a 1-minute video put out by the Lincoln Project of all, called On the Hook, that covers the exact element of the defense to our efforts. In addition, I'm personally seeing more members of Congress making this statement of illegal actions as they violate the basic laws of due process. So strategically, we the people need to develop a 5-level approach at minimum. Of course, a complete plan would be large and complex, as would be a budgetary impact and resource planning. Nonetheless, this is my idea for a start. 1. A group would focus on the government part of the laws, being to improve the standing laws, then begin to impeach and remove those bad actors simultaneously under our current laws. 2nd, a group would focus on the state actors and the local and laws of constitutional protection. 3rd, a group would focus on the heavens part, or the non-governmental structure, as well as the analysis of those sympathetic and hostile actors, then develop an effective approach. 4th, a group would focus on the civil actions, which can be assailed not only by the victims, but also by the state governments. Each state could put out a PSA saying that we will protect our citizens against unauthorized use of the Constitution. 5. A group would focus on the encouragement of all to run for office and be a part of our democracy. Great caution must be taken in the political parties and any tribalistic attitudes. The message needs to be loud and clear. If one violates our Constitution and our laws, there will be consequences. Complacency is not an option. We must move and act for the benefit of all. We must also remind ourselves that we are a country of the people, by the people, and for the people. We can be the change. Now, please allow me to summarize. We do not have the necessary checks and balances to stop any rogue president or actor, but we can approach it and expand with a multi-tier level approach. Therefore, first, we must state our mission clearly. It is to save our democracy. We must define the sides and lines clearly. We are in favor. Are you in favor of the Constitution, or are you opposed to it? Keep in mind, I'm not saying that opposing the Constitution is in of itself wrong, because we do have a structure to modify it through amendments to the Constitution, through the legislative process, or through the process of elections. The judicial branch needs to hold up the Constitution and the laws. We need to understand and apply the laws against those violating the Constitution, as well as move to enact stronger and unified state laws. We need to enable our actions to activate those laws, as well as protectional civil actions that already exist. Through this, we can expand our structure of checks and balances. We can build on a consensus that will strengthen our Constitution, thus strengthening our rights and protections. By having the states step in, this will give the U.S. another level of checks and balances. But we must not kid ourselves, because the opposition can also apply the laws to advance their attack, like states who partner with ICE agents and their CHP, because ICE cannot pull people over, but in this combination joint effort, they can, and they have. And with any luck, it will motivate those proponents of the destruction of the Constitution to rethink their efforts, choices, and plans. One can only hope. Doing nothing is not an option. Well, thank you for listening to my thoughts. One last thing. I do not believe it is in the best interest for the Democratic Party to lead any effort like this, but rather a leader of the future. You choose, we choose. Thank you. If you wish to reach out to me, ask me any questions, or communicate with me, please refer to the information below. Thank you.